Let's listen to a little bit from Russell Wilson's press conference yesterday on the impact of salary cap flexibility on his willingness to agree to a deal that only pays him $49 million per year in new money.
I told George and I told Rich, I told Mr. Penner himself, I said, it's so important to me. I had an amazing first, decade of my career. The next decade, I'm really excited about. And so to me, what it's really about is being able to win championships and being able to have enough space in the salary cap so George can make his magic, and we can get guys like Randy Gregory when he comes on the team, or other great players, and I think that we want to make this a destination location. I think that it's one of those things. We have amazing tradition, an amazing football team. We got a lot of amazing new faces, obviously, in the Walton Penner group. Mr. Rob Walton himself, Greg Penner, and Kerry. Obviously, Condoleezza Rice, Melody Hobson, Lewis Hamilton. I think Damani. I'm not sure what Damani went. He's back over there, And so these are world-class visionaries and world-class executors and winners. And so I think that at the end of the day, you want to be surrounded around that. And I think what's important too is making sure that you surround yourself around amazing players. And so for me, I love these guys, man. We've had them in a blast. It's been an amazing joy. And so for me, it wasn't really about how much necessarily. It was about how many Super Bowls we can win.
Well, if that's the case, take $25 million a year, not $49 million a year. There is a point where that becomes a little ridiculous because he's still taking a deal that puts him close to the top of the market. And that's always the balance. You got Tom Brady on one end with the reputation he had for always taking far less than he could get if he really wanted to push it. And Peyton Manning on the other end, who never left an ounce of meat on the bone. And his attitude was, it's my job to get paid as much as I can. It's your job to manage the salary cap. And where's Russell Wilson on that scale? But he's still getting a pretty healthy contract. He didn't push to become the highest paid player. He didn't push for it to be fully guaranteed. Not that that affects the salary cap at all. Full guarantee is just a different thing you can give a guy that enhances the perception of the deal, the value of the deal, because you're going to get every penny of it. But, Peter, I keep coming back to something that I thought would have happened by now, and a couple of players have tried to make it happen. Kirk Cousins tried. Darrelle Revis once tried to do it. And if we're going to talk about salary cap flexibility, I still think this is the most fair approach. Especially if you're going to sign a guy for 7 years, guarantee that he's going to get a set percentage of the salary cap every year of the deal. 15.7362%. Whatever that number is, you negotiate. You're always going to have the other 84.3678% of the cap available, every dollar, for other players. Your quarterback is protected against this contract becoming completely obsolete, but it is a fair, pre-engineered slice of the pie that we know goes to the quarterback, and then the team has to use the rest of every cap dollar to put the team around him. That, to me, seems to be the perfect balance, but the teams won't do it. More importantly, the management council won't let them do it. It's a clear example of collusion hiding in plain sight by the league. Management council says don't do it, so the teams don't do it, because otherwise by now somebody would have done it.
Hey, look, if that's what Jimmy and Dee Haslam thought they needed to do to get Deshaun Watson, they would have done it. But I think what that was basically understanding that the only way they're going to get him, is to pay him on the Mahomes scale and make it all guaranteed. That was the only way they had a chance. Otherwise, the three Southern teams would have battled it out, and he'd probably be a member of the Atlanta Falcons today. But anyway, be that as it may, Mike, I agree with you that someday, I don't know when, but some team will feel so desperately motivated to sign their quarterback long-term and to keep their quarterback that they'll agree to that. And some owner in the NFL will be disliked, maybe not in the sort of person-to-person fraternity at league meetings when nobody really wants to be confrontational, but which is what happened this year with Jimmy Haslam. Nobody wanted to tell him, hey, what a dumb contract you signed, but that's how they all felt. It's just,
Yeah, they say it behind his back instead, like everybody else.
Yeah, of course. But but I do think one day that's going to happen. I really do, because some team will feel so desperate to get something done. And plus, Mike, you know what it is at the end of the day? It's all monopoly money. You know, if at some point in the next few years, they'll shrug their shoulders and say, we're getting $350 million from TV from our media deals anyway. Let's just give quarterback X, a third of that, and or a quarter of that, and let's just be on our way. You know, I understand that everybody said, "Oh my God, the foundations, the pillars of the NFL are going to crack if anybody ever does that." It's not going to happen. At some point, anyway, players are going to continue to kind of build this quarterback wall, and it's going to go up and up and up, that how you actually disperse the money is really not going to be that big a deal.
I remember in the aftermath of the Watson contract, J.C. Tretter, the NFLPA president, posted an essay at the NFLPA website urging agents to push for fully guaranteed contracts in more settings and for more quarterbacks and other players. And you can push all you want. If the teams just aren't going to do it, if they're going to band together, if they're going to Red Rover the situation and lock arms and they're not letting anybody through, it doesn't matter. And that's how they reacted to the Deshaun Watson situation. The Watson situation was a unique example of a player having maximum leverage. Why? Because he basically created a free agency tour for himself somehow, had 4 teams at the table, told one of them, thank you, but leave, and that team became determined to do whatever it had to do to get him. And they did with a fully guaranteed contract. So everybody else huffs and puffs, and they blow down the house as it relates to fully guaranteed deals because they just refused to do it. Michael Bidwell refused to do it with Kyler Murray. The Walton Penner Group refused to do it if Russell Wilson even asked for it. And Steve Bisciotti is going to refuse to do it with Lamar Jackson. And there's no way Mike Brown's going to do it with Joe Burrow because he's not going to want to or be able to put that kind of money in escrow under the stupid-ass funding rule that was put in place to protect players and is now being used against them to keep these deals from being fully guaranteed. So, it's going to take, Peter, to your point, a really unique set of circumstances where a quarterback has maximum leverage to get a percentage of the cap, and then everybody else will say, it is stupid, and we're not going to do it, and they'll refuse to do it. And it won't happen again until there's a unique situation where the planets line up just right, and there's an owner who's willing to buckle in order to get that player. That's the only time this stuff's going to happen, and it's never going to become the trend that the NFLPA may want it to be. It's just not going to happen because there's always going to be the 31 other teams that say we're just not going to do it.
The other part of it, Mike, is that I don't sense any great solidarity among agents to die on that hill. It's not there. It just isn't there. You know why? Because they have their clients saying, I'm not going to get cut. Don't worry about it. And you know what? If I do get cut, there's going to be 3 or 4 suitors out there to sign me. Like Jared Goff's not going to say that, but Russell Wilson is. Mike, you said it exactly correctly about the guaranteed money earlier in the segment. And that is that I'm not saying what does Russell Wilson care. That's a little bit too, that's to say it blithely. But all I'm saying is Russell Wilson has enough confidence in himself. And that confidence is basically born out of his performance in the first 10 years of his NFL career, and how quarterbacks, even the quarterbacks who you don't necessarily think of as playing into their 40s. Look at all the quarterbacks who were playing great into their late 30s. Drew Brees did. Aaron Rodgers did. You watch Matt Ryan this year. I think he is going to play very well. Look at what Phillip Rivers did, as he went down the road. There aren't that many players. Ben Roethlisberger, who, is not the paragon of fitness, but there are
That's
a
very
lot
tactful
of guys.
and diplomatic.
There are a lot of guys, Mike, who basically say, listen, let's not go crazy about the guarantee. Just give me the best deal you can. Give me $55 million up front or whatever the number is that I can put in my bank account tomorrow, and then we'll all live happily ever after. To me, smart quarterbacks are going to do that because they know that even if this team, after 3 years, cuts them, there's going to be a payday somewhere else.
One last point, quick story, and then we got to take a break because you've hit the nail on the head. Mark Rodgers makes not one extra penny on this deal if it's fully guaranteed, assuming that Russell Wilson doesn't get cut in the next 7 years. He's still getting X percent of $296 million over 7 years. If it's fully guaranteed or not, it doesn't change what he gets. And I think that's one of the reasons why the agents don't push for it. It doesn't get them a higher fee based upon 1, 2, 3% or some percentage point of that in between that they negotiate with the client as their fee. That's why the agents don't do it, I believe. And it reminds me of a story I once heard, and you may have heard this too. I always loved this story. There was a discussion between a front office type and an agent about trying to place a player a certain way, which team, and hey, you want to try to get your guy in position to win a Super Bowl, don't you? And the response was, why? I don't get 3% of the ring. And that is a motivator for a lot of agents. How do I get paid, and how does pushing for this or that affect my percentage? Just one of the realities. Everyone's got to have their eyes open about it when we do these negotiations because there are biases along those lines. But for the agents, they don't make another penny if it's fully guaranteed. So why not push for more dollars instead of a full guarantee? Because they get paid based on the full dollars. All right, let's go ahead and take a break. Speaking of dollars, Jimmy G taking far fewer than he was supposed to. He met with reporters yesterday about his decision to stay put with the 49ers. We'll talk about that next on this Friday edition of PFT Live. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.